My name is Jacques Spitzer. I'm CEO of Raindrop, and we've been on this webinar series that hopefully you guys have been joining us for. And this is the fourth installment, which is around what's working now. Today we have Priya Iyer joining us. She's a brand supervisor with us and brings over a decade of branding and advertising experience. And this, so far, this webinar series has looked at everything from content to running advertisements, team culture, and what's working. And today we're going to be talking about who matters most. And so Priya is going to give us a sense of what's working now and what to avoid when it comes to giving people that matter the most what they want right now. Priya, I would love for you to introduce yourself to everyone and so they can get to know you better before we jump into this exciting topic.
Yeah, absolutely, Jacques. Thank you for having me. I joined the Raindrop team back at the end of February of 2020, before the craziness, just in the nick of time, I would say. It's been such a great journey over the past few months with the team, and it's been a great intro to San Diego. I moved down here for that. So since I've been with the team, I've been working on a number of accounts and have started overseeing the account team altogether. And definitely it's been interesting to kind of see what some of our clients are going through. You know, it's a difficult time for everybody. So what does that look like in different ways? How does that affect our marketing? How is that affecting just every day? What does it mean to go through life in this global pandemic? So it's been a journey. It's been an interesting one. And we've definitely learned some things along the way. So I'm excited to talk about some of those pieces and what it looks like to ground yourself during this time.
I love it. Well, so I guess just to start off, in the title of the webinar, and with what the title is, I'd love to focus the first half on this concept of the people who matter. What is it that you mean by that?
Yeah, totally. So let's just zoom out for a second. So in a crisis, I think it's really easy for people to have knee-jerk reactions. So in your life, maybe that looks like any bad habits ranging from junk food to binging mindless TV. In these cases, we're looking for something that brings us comfort because life is no longer offering us the comfort that we once had. And there are very few people right now who I would say are comfortable in the middle of this global pandemic. So in marketing, we're also experiencing that lack of comfort. And in that, the world feels upside down. So to find comfort, we assume that we have to turn our marketing upside down. Though this may be true in terms of the types of tactics we're using, this can't be true when we're thinking about the focus on who we're talking to. So if we turn our targeting upside down, basically what we're doing is we're forgetting about the people who mean the most to us. Our evangelists, our evangelists for our brand. So if you think about the marketing funnel, right? We have at the top, we have those brand new prospects. These are the people who aren't aware of your brand already, but the people that we want to bring into the fold that really need to be educated as we move them down the funnel. Then as we move down the funnel, we get the people who now have an awareness of your brand, some familiarity with your brand, but they've yet to understand how your brand fits into their needs. And then finally, when we get to the bottom, we have the people who are definitely convinced that your brand fits their needs. We just need to give them the extra push. So when our targeting focus, we take this funnel and we flip it upside down, we start to think about new tactics to reach new audiences, completely forgetting about those people who are at the bottom of the funnel. Again, those people who have already shown loyalty to us in one way or another. So because the current situation of the world is a brand new one, so many people think that new solutions in marketing to make our brand successful are new solutions in targeting. But again, if you're leaving your most loyal customers out in the dust, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, you're leaving opportunity on the table. And more than that, think about your own user experience. During this time, we're looking for comfort, right? So we're looking for brands that we trust. We're looking to see what those brands are doing to support us. So if those brands are forgetting all about us and thinking about new people, it's kind of like betrayal. As a user, it's kind of like betrayal. Like, these are the brands that we've told we care about. So, I think it's hard because you want to try all these new things, but it's hard when that means that you're not focusing on the people that matter to us.
Right.
And I think, Jacques, it's interesting. We were talking about this earlier. We've seen this in one way or another with some of our client relationships. There's all these trends and these fads and all this exciting stuff and new ways of thinking about marketing during COVID. And when some brands see success, then other brands want to try those similar things. And so then that conversation becomes interesting because obviously all the variables aren't the same from brand to brand. So Jacques, talk to us a little bit about, what that looks like in a client conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when you're looking at, focusing on who matters most, a lot of times the first question is more so in people's heads, how can I be relevant right now? And they start hyper focusing on that. And I think that's essentially what you're saying is it can be kind of like a shiny object syndrome, which I think totally. No one is immune to. And so I think, what we find is, of course, not everything works the same on every channel. So, and then you have something like TikTok emerging, which is a real thing that we need to be aware of. There's a billion users now. You need to be aware of that. But also you can't lose sight of, the reality is that our, maybe for a Works brand, Works is a power tool company that we work with. And, in order to utilize their tools, for the most part, you need to be a homeowner, or, the majority of people who are going to invest in that is going to be a homeowner. So we don't want to jump all of a sudden in a shiny object direction. We want to really double down on, what does someone that's between the ages of 35 and 60 need to hear? And what the irony of it is that even if it comes to, let's say, the use of humor, we're not making jokes that 20 to 30-year-olds are going to find funny. That is kind of the relevant meme culture right now. We're going to make fun of people, we're going to make fun of millennials and Gen Z, because that's what resonates. A joke about, here's your participation trophy is going to make people laugh because they're like, oh yeah, we totally understand that we raised a whole generation of people giving them, participation trophies, versus something that's super relevant and current. And so I want to actually turn back to you the question of, can you give me examples of the people who matter? How, as a brand, am I going to know who that is?
Yeah, totally. So to set the stage here, I want to first talk about one of my favorite marketing leaders, Seth Godin. So Seth Godin coined this philosophy of permission marketing, which is the concept of delivering personal, anticipated, and relevant messaging to the people who have raised their hand in interest for your brand. So these are the people who have given us permission. These are the people that we need to focus on first and foremost. You hear the term lowest hanging fruit. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the consumers who have the ability to make the biggest impact on our brands every single day. So before I get into some specific examples, I want to touch on one more piece for context, which is that one of the big things that this global pandemic has brought to light, I would argue this was brought to light before the global pandemic, but definitely during this pandemic, is the importance of digital. Now, for some brands, this means business as usual in a lot of ways, whereas for other brands, this means this is brand new information. This is a new frontier. And to me, the biggest change in marketing over the past, I would say 10 to 20 years even, is the increase in screen time. The demand in marketing has always been, where are the eyeballs? And right now, that's where the eyeballs are. They're on those tiny little devices. In fact, I don't even know where mine is right now, and I'm a little nervous about that. Yeah. That's what we're all thinking about, right? Regardless of your age, regardless of your gender, regardless of your background, digital screens are where the eyeballs are. And I have to break it to you, if you don't believe that yet, you're a little behind the curve. In a lot of ways, this global pandemic has forced brands who haven't already hopped on the digital bandwagon to finally take that leap.
Yeah.
So when we think about digital marketing, right, there are a multitude of ways to reach audiences who have given us some type of permission to interact with them. Again, known as the people who matter. To me, the first and most powerful way to do this is through website retargeting. So digital advertising allows us to pixel users, which basically means we're placing a tiny piece of code on all of these users, and then we're following them around the internet. So this is way more effective than, let's say, a billboard, for example, where you're kind of throwing something out there and hoping that the right people see that ad. This is allowing us to actually follow people who have given us permission or have shown us that they're interested by visiting our website. So whether it be through Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, email, retargeting users who have visited either your site as a whole or visited very specific pages on your site is a great way to keep your brand top of mind for them.
Yep.
On top of that, I think a lot of people are doing really strong things with email marketing. And then we have these databases, right? These like super robust databases. How are you using that database to your advantage? How are you welcoming new people into the fold when they sign up for your newsletter? How are you interacting with past consumers, past customers of your brand to make sure that you're still staying front of mind for them? And then how are you taking these super robust database lists, bringing them into Facebook, bringing them into Instagram, and then using those platforms as kind of a second reminder touch point almost for these audiences? There's so much, again, at our fingertips in the website users, in our databases, these people who have already told us that they're interested, they've given us permission, there's so much there to play with. And then on top of that, you have platforms like Facebook and Instagram, which are platforms where people go to A, be entertained, and B, to be part of a community. So what does it mean to react to certain types of posts, to see what your friends are sharing, to have conversations and comments? We have all of this engagement that's happening on Facebook and Instagram, and we can use all of that data to, again, get in front of the people who matter, the people who have given us permission, the people who have raised their hand in interest for our brand. So maybe you've put out this really stellar video, it's a 2-minute video, and you put that out on Facebook. There's an opportunity there for you to retarget people who maybe have watched the entire video, maybe people who have only watched 25%. Maybe those people get different messages because you want the storytelling journey to look differently for these two different types of people. Both people who, again, have shown us interest, people who have raised their hands, but maybe in different ways. There's so many different ways, again, to retarget people who have engaged with our brand on platforms like Facebook and Instagram. So just there, you have website retargeting, you have your database lists, you have engagement audiences. There are so many people who are waiting to hear from you. It's so obvious that they're waiting to hear from you. So making sure that those people are hearing from you should definitely be your first priority. We've actually created some assets like this for Works. Jacques, I know that you mentioned Works a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
We have some assets that are tailored to these types of audiences. Do you want to speak to that? And then maybe we can show one of those?
Yeah, I think, two things I always say about this, and I love how you broke that down around, giving a sense of permission, right? Meaning, everyone at some point on the internet starts as what we call like a cold audience. Maybe they've never heard of your brand, they've never seen a commercial from you in any capacity. And so while in the past, the remarketing journey was 100% based on your ability to click. So someone had to click on it and then they have to go visit the website. But a lot of people, and think about your own user journey as someone who's on these platforms. Maybe you go on YouTube, Facebook, if you're out there, Instagram, all these platforms. You don't always click on the ad. It doesn't mean that you didn't consume 20, 30 seconds of it, but you didn't click. Maybe you weren't ready at that moment in time, or maybe it was promoting some gifting item that I'm not in the mood for buying right now, whatever that is. Yeah. And so what I love about these ads when we show this Works ad is that, it costs the same amount of money to show someone a short ad as a long ad. It costs the same amount of money to show someone boring ad versus an entertaining ad. And so you might as well show somebody something that if they take the time to watch it, it educates them, entertains them enough that by the end of it, they're ready to be, they've given their permission with their attention to be remarketed to, and that person becomes much more likely to buy sometime either now or in the future. And so when we check these videos out, think about, like, even if you just watch a minute of it, 2 minutes of it, 3 minutes of it, you would really be well on your way to understanding the brand more so than you had the moment before you'd seen the video at all. So let's check that.
By what magic?
So I'm glad that we were able to share a little bit about, like, realistically what this might and can look like. And I'd love to, before we move on, get back to permission marketing and make sure that we're able to kind of elaborate on this philosophy for everyone out there, myself included, to learn more about what Seth Godin had to say and how you've seen that work, Priya.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm such a nerd about permission marketing. So to me, the strongest part of this philosophy is that it recognizes that consumers have the power to ignore marketing. So because consumers can ignore marketing, we as marketers have to earn the respect of our consumers through high quality content marketing. So when a consumer chooses to pay attention to the content that we're serving, that's actually one of the most powerful gifts of all. Sure, we want people to buy our products, absolutely. But when somebody actually pays attention to the content that we're serving, despite the fact that they could have ignored it altogether, that is super powerful. And once we have their attention, we have to value and care for it. Because if we lose it, we probably will never be able to get it back. This is all about building trust with the consumer, and it's about keeping that that trust with the consumer. Again, let's go back to this idea that when a crisis hits, we're focusing on new people. No, this is the time when people who care about us are looking to us, the trust that we've already developed with that person, and we have to deliver on that. We as marketers have to deliver on that. So it's easy, it's really easy to lose the human aspect of marketing when we're focusing on how are we selling, how are we making sure that we're making our goals, how are we able to report back to the people at the top of our organization. And all of that is important, don't get me wrong, but relationship building is what's actually at the core here of marketing. And that's what is at the core of permission as well. So I like to think of permission marketing as dating, the dating approach to marketing, if you will. Go with me. So when you start dating somebody, you don't ask for everything on the first date. Or maybe you do. I don't know what your track record is if that's what you're doing, but you don't ask for everything right away, right? You have to build trust with this person. You need to see where they're coming from. They're going to tell you what they need. You're going to tell them what you need. But first you want to hear them. You want to build trust with them bit by bit over time. And you don't want to ask for too much early on because then you're going to break the trust and you don't know if you're ever going to get the chance to earn that trust back. So it's the same thing with marketing. What does this look like in practice? It looks like giving the consumer whatever you can until you've earned the right to ask them for what you want. It looks like not selling to brand new consumers, but instead investing in educating consumers. And it looks like, going back to the title, giving the people who matter what they want so that they will give you what you want in return. So Jacques, again, let's go back to this idea of some of the assets that we've created for the people who matter. Will you tee us up for our next example from Core Essentials?
Yeah, no. So Core Essentials reached out to us like end of 2019, and they've had a track record of really strong growth, mainly through some really organic YouTube sort of reviews of their belts. And so we've been able to help them to grow their men's belts products by creating really cool ads for their men's belts, but also running all of their media, and it's seen a tremendous return on ad spend this year. So exciting. And we had this video for sunglasses, and we're going to showcase that here. But think of it like this, sunglasses, we actually have an interesting track record of a lot of success with sunglasses, having worked with William Painter and Shady Rays to do anchor style videos. And this is a much shorter asset, but it'll give you a sense of, it's so easy to take something that is technical in nature and focus on it. This product is a sunglass set that has magnets built in, and so it's really it's mainly just to be able to it just snaps in and holds to your the visor of your car. You can snap it onto your neck or your arm if you're out fishing or being whatever kind of man you want to be. Maybe you're getting the laundry out of the laundry thing and you don't want to knock them off. I don't know. Bottom line is you could get really technical with this. And so what we did was we intermix this edutainment value to it. It's really fun, and it gains permission from the core belt audience, no pun intended, to then get into potentially also purchasing the sunglasses. So this ad was meant just as much for their current core audience as much as it is for a cold audience. So let's take a look.
Are you constantly dropping your sunglasses, scratching and breaking your lenses, straining your back, searching for lost shades? There's a better way to protect your eyeballs. Meet Core Essentials. Shades made for life on the move. Not only do they look incredible, they're sturdy as hell and built to last. With superior lenses, durable frames, better protection, and a hidden smart magnet in each arm. Clip them to your shirt for a secure hold. Snap them to your sun visor or toss them in the cup holder case. They go where you go, so you always look good, see clearly, and never need to worry about them keeping up when adventure calls. Core, innovative gear built to last. Warning, excessive compliments may occur.
Great. So I feel like we've gotten to a good place with who the people who matter are. So let's talk a little bit more about what they want. and what that kind of like what they want, what that piece looks like. You mentioned content marketing. What does that look like, and how is that different during this unprecedented time with COVID and the rise of direct to consumer and everything else that's happening right now?
Yeah. So the idea of content marketing is definitely driving from a place of, again, delivering relevant, valuable, anticipated content to the audiences who matter. So the biggest mistake I've seen made when it comes to marketers who are setting out on a content journey for the first time during COVID is that they forget to define a clear goal and just kind of jump in. Again, there's so many trends and fads and so many different things that people are trying right now, which is great, but it's hard when you're choosing one of these tactics and you don't really have a sense of where you're headed or where you want to be headed. So you lose your North Star, you kind of end up like, I don't know if you guys have seen that movie Up, but there's that dog who in the middle of conversation just like sees squirrels and he's like, squirrel. Like, it's like that. Like, there are just so many people who are having a hard time focusing. So my big piece of advice here is just before you start out on this content marketing journey is to spend time defining objectives, and not only objectives, but kind of how are you going to measure success based on those objectives. So maybe the goal is to educate your customer on your industry or your brand. Maybe the goal is to provide support during a global pandemic to your existing consumers. Maybe the goal is to build long-term trust with new prospects. Maybe you're trying to entertain your consumers so that they can find joy during a difficult time. All of these are very valid goals, but the part that's important is that they are goals, because without a guiding light in your content marketing journey, it's going to be difficult to find success because you haven't taken time to cover what success is actually defined by. So when you're setting these goals, it also helps to define how your content marketing strategy during the pandemic might differ from your content marketing strategy outside of the pandemic. So maybe you brainstorm separately. You brainstorm goals within the pandemic, and then you cross-check those goals with your goals outside of the pandemic. So what that then does is you figure out which of these solutions are more long-term solutions and which of these solutions are more temporary solutions. And for those temporary solutions, again, we want to make sure they're still connected to your overarching goals, but maybe we're not expecting them to last for a super long time. So again, it's super easy to follow a shiny object during this time, but how do those shiny objects actually elevate your brand? I think the other thing that's really interesting here with content marketing is it's not just about what that full product looks like. It's also about how you're roping people in the beginning, right? You can have this incredible video, but people aren't going to give you the benefit of the doubt and make it all the way through your 2-minute, 5-minute video just on the benefit of the doubt. You have to hook them immediately. So I know, Jacques, we've worked on an interesting video recently with Crossrope that does an interesting kind of off the beaten path job of, roping in and hooking audiences. Do you want to speak a little bit more to that, and then we can show that to our viewers?
Yeah, I think that's a great example, because we have one of the most interesting things that we're helping clients to navigate. And I would say really where we provide a ton of wisdom and guidance and support is, people know that they want to introduce edutainment to their mix. And the number one question that Priya, you and I get from a potential new client is like, well, but my brand is not funny, so can we do this? Because like we're not funny. And I think it's really important to identify that, not every brand should have the same type of entertainment. And, depending on what you're trying to do, the level of sophistication of the brand, it's important to separate out when you are creating entertaining moments and when you are talking about the product itself, right? And not using humor necessarily to talk about the product, but to create a bed in which someone wants to watch the entirety of the video. And so I know we did this recently, like you mentioned, with Crossrope, and it was a huge success. And it was nice because all we're doing is taking what had been working and just evolving it slightly to give it a more like socialized type of feel. I always try to remind people that people are on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram to see photos of food being made, like these tasty videos. They're on there to see makeup tutorials and kitten videos. Like, they're not there to see your jump rope. I'm sorry, they're just not there to see that. But if you give them a little something that's entertaining, they may stick around long enough to be like, you know what, maybe I will check this thing out. And this ad, it's not that complicated, but it's been a huge success. And it's had us now, we're going to be tinkering with this, not anything radically different than their previous branding, but I think anyone who's in the direct-to-consumer space knows that just a 1 to 1.5 return on ad spend difference, so taking it from like a 1.5 to a 3 or a 2.5 to a 4, like that's a massive difference in your ability to really create change and scale the amount of sales you're doing. And so that's what this video did, where we just had a really nice, entertaining opening that some people comment in the comment section, like, this is the weirdest ad I've ever seen. But it's been tremendously successful, and I would argue that it's really not that weird. So let's check that out.
And now your body's on strings. You're just
Looking for a better home workout?
Master, call the
Meet
shot.
Crossrope, the most efficient way to fit in your fitness. With interchangeable weighted ropes, fast clip design and lightweight grips, and a free fitness app with hundreds of cardio, strength, HIIT, and full body workouts you can do from your living room, garage, or backyard in under 30 minutes. No need to buy expensive, bulky equipment or spend hours on a treadmill. Crossrope burns more calories, engages more muscles, takes up less space, and already has thousands of people jumping into their fitness. Jump into a fun, more efficient way to stay healthy. Jump in with Crossrope.
All right, Priya. So in the interest of time with everyone that's joined us today, as we're coming to an end here, I want to leave the viewers with this last question, if you don't mind, which is, what should the biggest priority in approaching our marketing during this time be? We've just seen a lot of things that are working. We know why they're working for core audiences and to expand out. What should people's biggest priority be in marketing during this time?
Yeah, totally. Well, I would say the biggest priority in marketing during this time, and honestly at any other time, should be using the heart and the mission of your brand to guide your actions. Jacques, we were just talking about this earlier. It's really easy to think, okay, if I keep my marketing strategy the exact same, then I'm going to continue to see the exact same results over time. But no one is really trying to pivot and completely change what they're doing either, because when you throw everything out the window, then you're basically starting from scratch. And I think it's really easy for us as marketers to know that inherently during a non-global pandemic time. But I think when the world has been turned upside down, we're all having these knee-jerk reactions and want to be trying brand new things. We want to follow the trends, but those trends are going to start overtaking our guiding light as a brand. And from there, it's only detrimental. Like, how are you leaving the consumers you've built so much trust with on the table so that you can reach brand new people in ways that you've never tried before? It's hard to completely abandon everything. So what does that balance look like? How are you meeting your consumers, your existing consumers who you've built so much trust with, where they are, and giving them what they need? Because they're looking to you. They're looking to you for support. They're looking to you for guidance. They're looking to you for a light during a dark time. So how are you helping your consumers move in the right direction? Trends and fads are the way they are for a reason. And I think joining in the conversation is absolutely important. But what's more important is making sure that the people who matter to your organization feel seen and heard. This extends beyond marketing. I would say most principles of life can use this, right? People want to feel seen and heard. And it's always going to be important in marketing to keep those relationships that we're building on, the trust that we're building, so that they can help us reach our goals as brands.
I love it. Well, Priya, I know that if anyone has any other follow-up questions, they can email those through to us and that you'll take those. Appreciate you sharing your expertise and vision here today with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And I hope that this gave some nuggets, some inspiration. We will get through this. And I think we as marketers are going to help keep brands grounded as we kind of move forward and move through this.
Perfect. Thanks.